Welcome back to Nas Presents Stay Tuned, a show where we preview the upcoming movies and television shows. We do the research so you don't have to. I'm your host, Daniel de Sangre.
I am not your host, Jose Ramos.
There you go. So in this episode, I should say, we're going to be talking about October releases, which we know there's going to be a ton of horrors, which both of us are super geeked about.
Yeah, I was looking through a list. Okay, what's coming out that's new and everything, and it was like 90% horror. So I'm like, you know what? Not gonna complain.
I'm in, yeah. And I'm looking at it and it's like, I don't want to give away a lot, but like, we do watch a lot of horror around this time, so I'm not mad at it.
Yeah. With that being said, let's just get right into it.
Boom,
People
let's
want to
get
know
it.
about these movies and shows, don't want to waste time. All
There
right.
you go.
First one, right off the bat, on October 6th, we have Exorcist Believer. Uh, Fun fact, this actually was scheduled for the 13th of October, and they actually switched their date because they didn't want to be on the same day as some Taylor Swift like tour movie that's coming out, and they didn't want to compete. So they actually switched it to the 6th. So not a good start when you lose a battle to Taylor Swift and you're a horror movie. Just saying.
Yeah, it's pretty horrific if you ask me.
Yeah. Uh, so this, of course, will be in theaters. The director is David Gordon Green. His most recent stuff is he did the new iterations of Halloween. So kind of a mixed bag there. We had some good, we have some really bad. Um, and the concept of this, you have a father who's forced to confront evil when his daughter and her friend show signs of demonic possession. He looks for the one person alive who's witnessed something like this before. Chris McNeil, the character from the original movie.
Hmm.
So that's the premise of it. This is a sequel to the original, of course. I think they're ignoring the second one and anything that came after that. They're kind of doing what Halloween did. It's taking the first one and then this goes right after. With that being said, what are your thoughts on this, Dan?
So when I first heard about it, okay, so I know this guy's the one that did Eastbound and Down, right? With Danny McBride. So I loved Eastbound and Down, but then the Halloween movies, I'm not a huge fan of them. There's a lot of issues with it. And when you listen to Marie, that's on our show as well. She has goes off on full rants about why it's wrong and it doesn't fit the Halloween lore, which I completely get. So when I first heard about this one, I'm a huge fan of the original. I hated when I first heard that they were going to remake it. I was so against it because I have a big problem with people trying to remake classics because if it's already great, the best you can hope for is just for it to be as good. That's the best you can hit. They always usually fall short. Now that it's a sequel, I was like, maybe. When I first saw the teaser trailer, I'm not gonna lie, it kind of got me a little excited. Like when I heard the music kind of bleeding in a little bit, they had some cool visuals, some pretty cool dialogue. It was great to see the actress returning. It was cool. But I'm still not like overly enthused about it. I saw the last trailer and it's like, I don't know. So will I watch it? Yes, I will watch it. Will I watch it in theaters? Probably not. I'm probably gonna wait for it to be streaming unless I hear really good things about it.
Yeah, it's funny. We had like the opposite reaction. When I first saw the first trailer, it felt pretty generic, and I was like, here we go. This maybe they should just go straight to streaming. And then I saw the second trailer, and that sold me a little bit more when we got to see a little more about what's happening. I'm liking the concept of the double possession with the same entity. And in the second trailer, they posed that question to like the father, like one of the girls must die, like who would you choose type thing. I like the stakes that they're putting out there. I just hope we have good execution in there. Like, of course, with horror, you're always going to rehash certain concepts, but can they tweak it enough to give you some good moments that have not been done 100 times? That's my thing with these possession movies and demon movies is we're not getting too much difference or too much tweaking to the old formula. So with that being said, I might see it in the theater just because there's not a lot coming out that month. Not much competition overall, so maybe. I'll do it, but it's not a for sure. But I will definitely be seeing it at some point.
Fair.
So, with that being said, also that same weekend on the 6th, we have Pet Cemetery Bloodlines coming out. This is not going to theaters. This is going to Paramount Plus. This is directed by Lindsay Anderson Beer, or Bear. I don't know how she pronounced it, but it's double E. It looks like beer. I know she did Chaos Walking, which was okay. I wasn't a huge fan of it. It's with what's his name? Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man. I'm
Tom
blanking out
Holland.
right now.
Tom
Yeah, it's
Holland.
with Tom Holland. The
Hmm.
movie wasn't bad. But I don't know how that translates to Pet Cemetery. It starts David Duchovny, everyone's favorite Mulder, in there,
Hmm.
and then the general story of you had Judd Crandall, who was the he's in the original movie, he's the neighbor, the older guy.
Hmm.
So he wants to leave his hometown of Ludlow, Maine, but ends up finding out of these sinister secrets that have been hidden, including a dark history with his own family. And then, of course, people are going to get buried and are going to come back to life as always in there. So this is unlike The Exorcist, this one's a prequel to the original. What are your thoughts on this project?
No, like that's kind of how I feel. Like, you gave us Pet Cemetery one. It's been an often debated movie on our podcast. I'm more on team yes about it. I know you're on team no. When I see this, like, yeah, do I really need to see a series about this? No, I don't. It just feels like an idea you took and you're just repeating, rinse and repeating, rinse and repeating. If one person comes back, how many people are going to keep burying? You're going to have like an army of these deadites. They're going to be coming out. Like, I don't know. I'm good.
The way I feel about this, it can't be worse than the original movie. And for those of you out there that say, "Oh, the original movie is good," rewatch it. Then come back and tell me that it's good. The acting already looks 1,000 times better than what we got in the original. Judd, the neighbor, not included. He was the only one
Hmm.
that can probably act in the original movie.
Hmm.
Uh, and I like that it seems that it's not rehashing the same story because we already got the reboot with the kid getting hit, the cat, and all that. It seems to be doing a different story. So I do like that aspect. Because here's the thing, even though I'm not a fan of the original Pet Cemetery, I always like the lore of it, the idea of it, even if the movie didn't execute it well. And supposedly Stephen King has, I don't know if he just read the script or he's already seen portions of this, but he did come out and he did praise this movie overall. And I mean, he knows the source material better than anyone else. With it being on streaming, I will give it a try on streaming because I don't have to leave the house. I don't have to spend money. It's already there. What do I got to lose?
That's true. I will say though, I cautious about what Stephen King gives the approval for because the original The Shining, Stanley Kubrick Shining with Jack Nicholson, he was very vocal about hating it. And then the made for television The Shining, which was just not good, he gave that the stamp of approval. So,
So maybe his approval is not so much about the quality of something as how well it matches his
correct.
source material.
Because
So this
yeah,
it probably means that this one is leaning closer to the source material than the other one.
that's correct. Even though I'm still a huge Stephen King fan, it's just that's exactly what it was because Kubrick made some different creative choices and the ending was very different than the book. And I think that's what it had to do with.
Which, by the way, if y'all do want to hear a little bit more about Stephen King's projects being turned into movies, make sure you check out our videos on our channels because we have a whole episode on based on Stephen King movies.
Yes, we do.
So, moving on. Now let's go on to the TV show aspect of it. We actually have three TV shows coming out the same weekend.
Ooh.
All of them. The first one on Netflix, we have The Fall of the House of Usher coming out in 10/12. I believe 10/12 it might be a Thursday. So they might be doing a Thursday release for that one.
Watch
Uh
this. Not
yeah.
not that Usher. Not that Usher.
That we're getting. That's all it is. It's a documentary on Usher
Well, I guess
and
it's
why
still
his
pretty
career is
frightening.
not where it was.
Yeah.
He did it his way, and then like this is where he's at now. Well, the creator of this is actually Mike Flanagan. He's the person behind The Haunting of Hill House, Blind Manor, Midnight Mass. All three shows that I enjoy and approve of, and actually want to do a rewatch of. So this, of course, is going to be horror on Netflix. So this you should be able to binge. It's based on the works of Edgar Allan Poe, mainly his work by the same title. And the general concept of it is a family has built a pharmaceutical company into an empire. And things aren't as clean as they may want others to believe. And some of those like dirty secrets start coming out as some of the heirs to the dynasty start to die. And it looks like there might be a little bit of a supernatural aspects to it. What are your thoughts?
So I'm a huge Edgar Allan Poe fan. Me starting off as a literary writer before I got into film, Edgar Allan Poe is like my dude. Like that's my guy. So I love the short story that is built off of. It seems like the show is incorporating other elements of it because you see the Raven that's in it, you see the guy quoting Nevermore. So it seems like because even then it was a short story. So I wondered how they're going to make this a mini series, but it seems like they're going to be obviously, stretching out the story. They're going to give us a lot of flashbacks, it seems like, or a lot more character development. But it seems like they're bringing in more of the Edgar Allan Poe lore into it. I'm 1,000% going to watch this show. I loved The Haunting of Hill House. Even though I saw the other two projects from Mike Flanagan and I thought they were good, but I thought The Haunting of Hill House just was just so superb. This one looks like it looks juicy. It has a lot of good elements in this. It even has the Carla G. What's her name? Again, we just talked about her.
Carla G?
Carla G. It has Carla G in it. But like the visual of her smiling and all that, like, man, that looks good. Her doing horror, yes, please. So I'm 1,000% gonna watch this as soon as it comes out.
And yeah, and then when I was reading up on this, they specifically said it's going to be based off of works by Edgar
Mm,
Allan Poe. So they're going to take multiple of his works,
mm.
uh, with the main structure being based off of the fall of the House of Usher, and they're going to incorporate some of his other works. So you are right on that one, at least by the way they've been describing it. I am also 1,000. I'm 1,001% on
Damn it, you
board
beat me,
on this.
Jose.
Yeah, I had places right you.
Yes,
Um,
man.
Fully on board with this again because of Mike Flanagan and what he's given us so far with his whole horror series. He knows what he's doing. And I agree with you. The Hill House is my favorite. That's probably the top one, but they're all quality. So, if he can keep that, he's earned my trust enough that if he's attached to it, I'm watching it. It also reuses some of the same cast members from those other three shows, which shows how comfortable he is with them. And we did an episode not too long ago about directors having their favorite actors. So if you guys want to check that out, also in our videos, here's an example of he knows who he likes to work with, and you see them sprinkled across all his shows. Uh, with that being said, I watched the trailer and like 10 seconds into the trailer, I'm like, I am in. Forget
Hmm.
it. Don't need to watch anymore. I still watched the rest of it, but I didn't need to watch the rest of it. So I will be there. That show will be done by that weekend for
Yeah,
me.
absolutely. Absolutely. And you and I are going to be maybe we'll even do a review episode on it, because
Oh,
I'm
we
so
will.
excited for this. Oh, we
Oh,
will.
we will.
We
We
will.
will.
It's on the schedule.
Yeah. With that being said, so that's probably going to be more adult oriented, something that's going to be probably more family horror oriented. On the 12th, we have the newest Goosebump series on this. So this is being developed by Rob Letterman. He's the one who did the 2015 Goosebumps movie. He
Hmm.
also did Detective Pikachu, which I feel is underrated.
Hmm.
It's a lot better than it had any business being. And is also co-written by Nicholas Stroller, who wrote Neighbors, Forgetting Sarah Marshall. The show stars Justin Long Hayden Christensen. We get a little Darth Vader action in there. And then Rachel Harris, for any of those who've seen Lucifer, she was a psychiatrist in Lucifer, and she was pretty good in that one. The general concept of this is basically high school students just doing what they tend to do, and they're unleashing supernatural forces on their town, and now they have to come together to try to stop it. So it looks like it's probably a mix of some of the villains from multiple books, kind of like they're doing with the House of Usher, where they're mixing multiple works. It looks like that's what they're gonna do with this Goosebumps. It's not gonna be like past series, which were anthologies, and each episode was a new story. There's gonna be one extended story into this mini series with multiple works mixed together. What are your thoughts?
I'll watch it. I love Justin Long, man. Justin Long's so good. And I just saw Barbarian recently, and I even watched the first half of Idiocracy, that he's in. I love Justin Long. There's such a natural charismaticness to him because he's so good at playing douchey. Like
Mhm.
he's just so good at it, but like he's very captivating to me on camera. I like him and I want him to get more roles. He's another underappreciated actor, which you can check out an episode. We talk about underappreciated actors, that need more roles, underrated actors. He's one of them. But it's good to see him doing a project like Goosebumps because even the movies did pretty well, box office wise. They did pretty well,
Mhm.
and it's a name brand. So to see him do something like this, I'm excited for. I'll check it out. I have some of the other projects higher up on the list, but I'll give it a watch. It's a good family horror movie that watch with the kids, watch with the nephews, and all that. It'll be fun.
Yeah, and this is gonna be a Disney Plus horror, so most likely it's gonna be weekly. So I probably will polish off the fall of House of Usher first, and then watch that week's episode of this.
Mhm.
This is the Goosebumps. It holds a special spot in my heart. Like that's the horror books that I remember reading in elementary school and traveling to the library to try to get the next one, and then having to come back because someone else took the book and rented it out. They only had one copy of that one, and I'll have to give my name so they can call me when it's available.
Yes.
Ah,
Yes.
but yes, so it holds a special part in my heart.
Hmm.
And then, like in a trailer, being able to these little like Easter eggs where I'm trying to identify, like, you see Slappy in there. You'd see it looks like the camera from I think it was called like Say Cheese or Die,
Hmm.
and you see that in there.
Yep.
You'd see the clock in there. So you see the
Yes.
pieces from multiple stories. So even just for that, I want to watch it to try to be like, oh, I remember this story. I remember that story. Um, I do expect it to be very tame since it is Disney
Hmm.
Plus. So it's
Yeah.
going to be very light horror, more family oriented. The one thing that was kind of turning me off, and I don't know if you feel the same way, because when I think Goosebumps or horror, this is not what I think. When the trailer was playing and they were using a Travis Scott song for the trailer, it didn't give me a good feeling about it. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if you should have used a Travis Scott trailer for a Goosebumps movie.
Yeah, it felt too modern, sort of, and it kind of takes you out of that bubble because Goosebumps, I was a huge Goosebumps reader as well. And there's a universe or a world of what R.L. Stein was able to create with Goosebumps, and to do that, it kind of feels weird. It doesn't quite mix with at least what I grew up on. So it makes me wonder if the iteration that we're going to see with the Disney Plus is an updated version, which I don't know if I necessarily want to see it that. Like, does that make sense? I kind of want it to feel like the Goosebumps that we grew up on.
No, no, it completely makes sense because with the addition of that song and some of the lines in there, like the Nepo baby line and all of that, it gave me very like CW vibes,
Hmm.
like Riverdale like type vibes is kind of what I got from it
Yeah.
on that. When I think Goosebumps, I'm thinking 90s. I'm thinking 90s vibe. So I
Yep.
think if they would have gone with like a 90s song, I think it would have worked out better. But then again, I'm not gonna not watch it just because they chose the wrong song for the trailer.
They,
So
they could have played some Usher
yeah.
in his drop top cruising the street.
Oh. All right. Also that same weekend, we have John Carpenter's Suburban Screams coming out on the 13th. So this is the day after. I believe that's the Friday. Um, Beyond developing it, John Carpenter's this is kind of his return to being behind the camera since what was I think The Ward in like 2013 was the last thing that he directed, and he's gonna direct an episode in this. And he's also composing the music for this show. This is gonna be on Peacock. I believe it's gonna be a weekly show. It's a horror anthology, but it's told like documentary style with like firsthand accounts and then cinematic reenactments revolving around, true tales of horror from American cul-de-sacs. Uh, Hence the name Suburban Screams. It feels, at least what I got out of it watching the trailers, kind of like a unsolved mystery or like that Netflix show Haunted, but John Carpenter, where they're gonna have people telling their horror story, and then John Carpenter and whoever else are gonna direct those stories and make it cinematic.
Hmm.
What are your thoughts on this?
So it kind of reminds me of, remember how American Horror Story kind of did something like that, didn't they? Like they had
One
one
of the
season.
seasons, yeah,
Yeah, it was kind of like that. So I'm imagining, I think that's the one that had Cuba Gooding Jr., right? I think it was that season. If that's the one he was
and
in.
so I had
I think
stopped
so.
watching at that point, but I remember the
Yeah.
commercials for it.
Yeah. I did too. But I think it's kind of that idea. But it's interesting. It's something different. So I'm interested in it. I hope it does well because I love John Carpenter. You know, to be a horror fan, you have to love John Carpenter. Otherwise, you're not a horror fan. You have to love John Carpenter because he helped pioneer so much of what horror, movie is. And I know they advertises it the king of horror, and he's absolutely one of them. He's absolutely on the Mount Rushmore of horror. So it should have it should do it right. Now, watching the trailer, it looked okay, but I had watched it right after I just saw Fall in the House of Usher. So like that trailer to me was like, whoa, Mike Flanagan just gets it. Like it's so good. This one looks interesting and I'll watch it. I'll watch it unless if I hear really bad things and then maybe not, but I'll watch it. It's just I have some other projects I want to watch first.
Yeah, I'll at least watch the first couple of episodes on it. I don't know how the format will work for me personally, for my viewing preference.
Hmm.
It seems a little bit different. I don't know if I'm gonna like the format, but I'll give it a try. I do hope it succeeds and I hope it does well because maybe if it does succeed, it'll encourage John Carpenter to kind of get again behind the camera, but for a full feature horror movie, and we kind of get him back out there. If it doesn't do well, if he's already been out, what, 9 years, 10 years now, since the last one that didn't do well, which was The Ward, who knows if we'll get another thing from him. So I hope it does well. I'll give it a try. I'm keeping my expectations low. With that being said, going back to the movie front, the weekend after that, this is the the only non-horror one on this list here. We have Killers of the Flower Moon. This is going to theaters. Uh, Directed by Martin Scorsese, of course. Also involved in the is a co-writer, Eric Roth, who's done Dune and Forrest Gump. So he's also a co-writer. So we got some big names behind this like Western drama thriller. And the names are not only behind the camera, but also have Leonardo DiCaprio, we have Jesse Plemons, we have De Niro, we have Brendan Fraser, we have John Lithgow. The list goes on. This thing is loaded with talent on both sides of the camera. The overall concept of it is it's 1920s like members of a Native American tribe are murdered conveniently after oil is found on their land. This, of course, leads to tensions and the FBI investigating the murders. Leonardo DiCaprio's character seems like he's involved with one of the Native Americans romantically, so he's kind of stuck in the middle of this. What are your thoughts?
Okay, a couple things. One, it seemed like this movie probably should have swapped with the last voyage of the Demeter, doesn't it? Because that movie seemed like it would have come out in October. It's more like a horror movie. It kind of
Yeah.
randomly came out a couple months ago. This movie kind of odd that it's coming out in October in the month of Halloween. So you almost like could have flipped them in a weird way.
One one thing I think that might be the reason is because I believe this movie originally was supposed to only do a limited theater release
Mm,
and then go to Apple TV.
mm,
And then I think then they made the decision of doing a full theater release before putting it on Apple TV.
got it.
So
Makes sense.
maybe that has something to do with the release date of it, is their plans changed from what it originally was going to be. I think they were going to try to pull a Netflix, release it for like a week or two so it qualifies, and then
Yeah.
put it to Apple TV, but they changed their mind.
That makes sense. So then the other thing too is Scorsese had mentioned about how when he was first had the early drafts of this movie, he realized the story was too much about the white people. So then they had to kind of really change up the story and make it more about a lot of the Native Americans' point of view, which it should have been. So I'm glad they ended up pivoting it with it. But you get Scorsese, you get Leo all day, every day. I'm in on it. And then you throw in the other actors that you mentioned, Plemons, Lithgow, like absolutely. The movie is different than what I thought it was. I remember hearing the title. It doesn't necessarily tell me exactly what it was about. And I didn't really do much research on it on purpose because I like keeping it as a mystery. Then I saw the image, where it was just the still of Leo at the dinner table with the Native American, the co-lead that he has with them. And then that was it. So I didn't really know what the movie is about, but I was gonna watch it regardless. It's a Scorsese film. And then when I saw the trailer, I'm like, oh, this is what it's about. I'm like, okay. And it kind of had a little bit of like a mafia kind of gangster Native American feel to it, which is very interesting to me. And it seems like I'm excited because it might be a new interpretation of what we've seen of the West. And I'm very, very intrigued by that. So absolutely, I'm going to watch it.
I'm in a similar boat. I had first heard the title months ago, and then I saw Scorsese DiCaprio, and honestly, you could have left it at that, and
Hmm.
my ass was going to be in that seat, like
Yeah.
watching it. I didn't need to know
Yeah.
anything else.
Mm-mm.
That's one of those pairings that I'll go in blindfolded. I don't care what it is. I saw the trailer, that intrigued me even more, mainly because it looks like it's going to be one of those movies where you're just going to get amazing acting performance left and right. The fact that besides like Leo, we have a very underrated Jesse Plemons, who I think could have fit in our underrated actor because he does some really good performances. I mean, De Niro, we know De Niro, but then you also have fresh off of his big win, Brendan Fraser coming in this, continuing his comeback, the time of the Fraser. So, and then John Lithgow, like, come on, I was like, I'm
Mm.
in. Like, that's it. Enough. You got me. You convinced
Yes.
me. That's
Yes.
it.
What I love about Lithgow too is that he's very particular now about the projects that you rarely see him and stuff. But when he is, man, he's good. So yes,
Yeah. So that one's a no-brainer for me. I will be in there. And as much as I love horror, that's the movie I'm looking forward to the most in that month of October.
absolutely. Even
Yeah.
television, out of all of them, it's that's the
Yes.
project.
And then that leads us to the final movie we have here for the month. Uh Five Nights at Freddy coming at 10/27, and that one's coming to Peacock. This is directed by Emma Tammy. I don't know anything else that she's directed. If I don't think this is her first project, but I don't know anything else behind it. This is based off of a mobile game that's been out for years, many, many years. It's a horror, of course. The whole concept of it is, troubled security guard begins working at a pizzeria called Freddys. While working, he begins to realize that the animatronics are not what they seem, and making it through the night might prove a little difficult. So that's the general concept of this one. Now, I personally never played the game at all. I've seen when I used to work with kids, I've seen them playing the game. So I get the general concept of the game. You're playing the security guard, you're watching cameras, kind of keeping track of the animatronics. And then this is a Bloomhouse project, and Bloomhouse is very hit or miss with me. But it's horror and it's October, so and it's streaming, so I'm gonna give it a try. Another thing is even as a kid, I remember going to Chuck E. Cheese. I never trusted those damn animatronics. I always felt there was something off with them and their creepy smiles. I was like, I never want to celebrate my birthday here because I don't trust these things. They're gonna take my soul. So I am intrigued by the story. Uh, although we did already see a similar concept done with Willy's Wonderland with Nicolas Cage, and that was entertaining. But doesn't mean that this one can't be entertaining also. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'll check it out. I know it's stuff that kids played. It's a kids game. The movie looks like it's targeted towards kids. Uh, that's why I don't feel like I'm necessarily the target audience for it. The fact that it is streaming, I'll give it a shot. You said it's Josh Hutcherson, right? Is that the lead, right? Or
I
no?
didn't say. No, I didn't
Oh,
actually did not say the lead.
yeah, I think he's the lead in it, right? Josh Hutcherson, the kid from Hunger Games.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Um, I like
It,
him.
it, it also has the guy from the first Scream, the second killer.
Matt Lillard, Matthew
I
Lillard.
think Matt Lillard's in it too.
Yes, yes, you're right. He has like a beard and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like Josh Hutcherson. He was in a TV show. Man, I cannot remember the name of it right now, but it was like a sci-fi one where he goes like different dimensions or whatever in it. But he has good comedic timing. I don't know if this one has comedy to it. I couldn't really tell. They were showing a lot of like horror heavy stuff to it, but I'll give it a shot, I think. As long as it's not too bad, if I don't hear too many bad things about it, I'll have it on the list as well. It's on there. It's probably below some of the other ones, but I'll definitely give it a shot. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot too. Like you, I don't expect it. I think it's rated like PG-13, so kind of like the Goosebumps series. I am expected to be more family-oriented horror, so there's going to be a line they're not going to cross when it comes to it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it can't be good. If they can, within that realm of more family-friendly horror, if they can be around the level of like scary stories to tell,
Tell in
what
the
was it,
dark.
scary story to tell in the
Scary story.
dark,
Yeah.
that was more family-oriented horror where they pushed it to like the limit, but they weren't passing a certain threshold. So if they
Yes.
can do that with this, it still has potential to be good, even though it's not going to be an intense horror.
Yes, and that's a good example because Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, I loved reading those when I was a kid as well, but the art was so sadistically scary in those books. So when we see the visuals on camera, they were able to push the limits because it visually aesthetically looks scary. This one is animatronics, so I don't
They
know
look
how
they look pretty creepy though.
they do look very
Yeah, they
creepy, and
designed
that's what
them
I
well.
mean. Yes, so it's a different type of creepy, but the creepiness, like you said, I had the same fear of Chuck E. Cheese, because you could never trust those damn things. I never went in to take a picture with him ever. So
I remember playing skee ball, and I would just launch the ball and just keep
yeah,
staring at them.
exactly.
Like, never give your back to the enemy.
Never. Always keep a regular skee ball handy just in case. Yeah. So yeah, man, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
All right. Again, it looks like October is going to be very horror friendly. So it looks for me the highlights are going to be the fall of the House of Usher and Pillars of the Flower Moon, sprinkled in with some like might as well give it a try projects.
Yep, exactly. So let's do it, man. Those two I think are gonna be the kings of that slate. So hopefully they'll to the hype. But yeah, that'll do for another episode of Stay Tuned. Please like, subscribe, comment, share on the YouTube channel, Not a Strong Start. You can listen to us anywhere you listen to your podcast. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter, Not a Strong Start. I'm your host, Daniel de Sangre. You can follow me at King_Sangre.
I'm not your host. You can find me at This Is Mi Nombre on Instagram.
You can catch us on the first of every month, or at least the beginning of the month. But you can catch us the beginning of every month where we preview all the movies. So come watch with us and stay tuned.